John, how are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, doing well. Nice to meet you, first of all.
Yeah, virtually. Well, I guess we'll see you tomorrow night. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me just first say congratulations on Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame.
thanks. Appreciate
That's
it.
pretty cool for a Long Island guy, something, some recognition from the local town, I guess.
You never lose your roots. That's for sure.
Um, so tell me your story. Tell me how you got involved in media and became what they call the maestro. I watched that on one of the news channels down there. They had a whole thing on you. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think, this is where you have to separate your fortunes from hitching your wagon to a successful team. Like sometimes you got to temper your humility because let's say you're working for, and I'll put them out there. The Buffalo Sabres was a
Okay.
long stretch where they didn't make the playoffs for 15 years. So if you're in my position with the Sabres, you don't probably are afforded the opportunity to be in the spotlight as much as we have here. So you have to take that first dose of humility and
Sure,
then
sure.
recognize that you're just lucky to hitch. I always say you hitch your wagon to a sports team. And then you're along for that ride, whether for good or bad. And luckily, with the Lightning here, we've been in a successful spot
Yeah.
here the last 12 years. We've made the playoffs 12 out of the last 13 years. We've won two cups, been to four conference finals. So you're able to, by virtue of that extension of the success of the team, you're able to, because you work in a non-traditional field such as game presentation, you're able to
Sure.
sort of parse that into uh, ancillary means of exposure. So if it's a press article, it's a news feature, it's a video feature, because you're part of that experience. And in many ways, my team creates the experience. You're able to
Mhm.
sort of, be the tip of that spear and explain to people like I'm doing right now what we do. Um, so by virtue of that, you have to stay humble. Recognize that the game is the thing. I say that all the time. The game is the thing. People are coming to see a game, and by extension, a show. And that's where
Right, right.
that's where my team comes in. So because it's a show, growing up on Long Island, especially in West Islip in the 80s, where there was no social media, there was just
Correct.
movies. So movies were our lives back then. Movies, sports and school.
That's
Like
it.
that was it. That
That's
was
the
the talk
entertainment.
at West Islip High School. What sport do you play? What movie did you like? Like that. That was it.
Right.
And then MTV comes out and busts everything open, right? So I would say that I was always a baseball junkie. I was a
Okay.
theater nerd and a a movie fan. So
Sure.
you fast forward 40 some years, it's what I do. Like, we turn out the lights in pregame hockey. It's a show. It's a spectacle.
Yeah.
It's a planetarium with lasers. It's theatrical. The movies that we make or the videos that we make sort of tell our team's story and our team's community commitment and the story of the season. We track milestones, tributes, etc. We're making movies. And then the third part is we're working in sports. So in many ways, the three things I loved doing back when I went to West Islip High School, I'm still applying here today in my professional job. And it's only by virtue of stick to itiveness, I guess, that I'm still doing it. To me, every night here when we open doors, it's like the curtains going up at West Islip High School production of Arsenic and Old Lace, and I'm in it. Like
Oh man.
I still remember that sort of visceral feeling of putting on a show, and it's always stuck with me. And albeit, in our case, it's doors to a hockey game, but the concept is still the same. Like we're
Yeah,
working
yeah.
really
And
hard.
you get the immediate feedback from the audience. You can hear how
A
they're
hundred
reacting to
percent.
your show.
100%. And that's what woke me up to using game presentation as a potential uh, career path. And like my goal when I was at West Islip High was about going to NYU and then parlaying that to a career in LA, which is where the movie business was.
Right, right.
My 4 years at NYU and go to LA and write screenplays until one of them hits. That was the original thought.
Sure.
And then as I was at NYU Film and Television, I met a guy named Ed Nussbaum. He's since passed on, a great guy, but he was servicing the equipment at Shea Stadium, and Shea was one of the first people to put in these Diamond Vision boards. Back then,
Yeah.
it was a novelty, and the Yankees, I think, followed suit. This is 83, 84, 85. Um, so I'm coming up on my third year at NYU, and Ed says they're looking for someone to work in their control room. I was a huge Mets fan. It's 86 of all years, the year
Oh,
that
yeah. Perfect time to be a Mets fan and
86 and
get
everything.
that gig.
And I'm in the control room for that. Are you kidding? So now here's like all the three worlds are colliding: showbiz, I mean, putting on a show, working in production, and in sports. Never
Sure.
happened before in this sort of sense of grooming kids, because what they were finding as they were putting in these big screens back then is
Hmm.
they bought these big NASCARs, but they didn't have drivers. So what's the cheapest way out? You hire the kid who can
That's
program the
right.
VCR, which
Hire
is
the
really,
interns.
so it's kind of being in the right place at the right time with the right interests. Because anyone who works in sports at any level, high school, collegiate, semi-pro, pro, if you don't have a passion for it, you're in the wrong business. Go work at Penny's, stock pants from 9 to 5. It's very simple.
Sure.
32 go here, 33s go there, no stress. This is a different world. And I realized that going right into it then, back in 87, when the Yankees hired me for my first job after interning for the Mets, that this was something I really wanted to see if this would parlay into something. I still had plans of going out west in my head, but then life happens all around you. And I
Sure.
met my then wife, my then girlfriend, now wife of
Got
33
it. Got it.
years. We met at NYU, and we started to build a life together. That sort of kept us anchored in New York. Family was in New York. And then the Yankees say, "Hey, we want to hire you full time." Okay,
Yeah.
that regular check makes it really nice. And I hadn't had that before. So again, life sort of steers you the right way. And then I stay 10 years with the Yankees, and I cash out after the 96 World Series. So now I had worked my way up the ranks at the Yankees. I started as a kid who, like I said, just was a one-man show in the
So
control room.
86 to 96, you're basically in baseball,
Yeah,
MLB.
and in New York,
In New York, right.
which is the
Yeah.
epicenter, right? And
Best market for that.
and you're building your resume slowly and surely over the years. And the Yankees again gave me a platform to uh, parlay some skill sets, which was using some. And back then, it was a little bit of the Wild West, so you could use some IP and not look over your shoulder.
Hmm.
You could use music from movies, you could use pop tunes, and there weren't necessarily repercussions back then because there was no social media. There was no ancillary means of revenue for teams in that respect. So once you walked in the door, the game presentation was a hodgepodge of things. And what I was able to do at the Yankees was quickly understand how sports fans feel about their team. So suddenly video features that feature their heroes from their past and their present resonate, and people would take that with them. And I would get letters from people, fan letters. And here I am, 22, 23, 24 years old, and it's my first gig. And I'm like, what I just did meant something to this person. And they would explain to me why the video hit home. And I'm like, this is a video on Mickey Mantle. Like, really?
Yeah.
So you start to understand how woven a sports culture or a sports team is with fans. And over time, you really start to appreciate it. And then you start to protect it. Then you start
Mm.
to realize what videos are good to run in a ball game, or what videos, you know what, we probably shouldn't run that because it's not right for the Yankee brand. Um, or you could say, you know what, I have this idea to do the subway race, which I think they still run today, albeit
Oh, with the different subway
albeit
cars running? You did
albeit
that?
in a different way. But when I created
Oh,
that in
that's wild.
1990. I did it because I was inspired by what the Milwaukee Brewers had done, which was a sausage race.
Sure,
I think
sure.
they
Yeah.
or whatever across the screen. And
I
but
have to
you,
tell you,
right.
everything you're saying resonates so, so much with me.
Mhm.
I'm one of those people. I was, sports my whole life. I went to college at CW, um,
Right,
and I went for phys ed only because my mother said, "You love sports." I said, "I don't want to be a teacher. I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go teach." She goes, just, just go get your degree." And I
right,
ended up teaching for 15 years, then went into athletic administration, and I stayed in sports my whole life, just in a different way. But I stayed in sports
right,
forever, and I was always motivated by presentation. The first time I went to see the Jets Dolphins. I was always a Dolphin fan in New York, but
right.
um, and the Jets were over at Shea,
Yep,
and the color of the field in person
right,
and everything about it lit me up. And and it's been and now even when I do this, when I do my podcast, my son says to me, just Dad, just record it and put it out there. That's you get views. And I said, I got to edit it. I have to make sure the audio's right. I like to
right, right.
put in a younger picture of the. And he's like, and I'm like, no. And every concert I've ever been to, I come home and I talk about the production.
Sure.
I saw Madonna probably back in the 90s, and she's not my favorite artist at all.
Right, right.
It was a Broadway play.
Yeah.
It was
But the spectacle,
it
right?
was
It's the spectacle.
amazing.
You
And
know,
no, go
it's
ahead.
fun. It's no, it's funny you said that because I was speaking yesterday at a military convention here in town for Special Operations Command. I'm like, why am I speaking here? I work for a hockey team. I put on the show for a hockey team. But they wanted to get that exact insight of why that matters. And right across from me, and I'm looking at it right now, there's a little sign in it. And it goes back to what I said about that first fan letter I got. It
Mhm.
said, make a memory. And that's our why. That's why
I
we
love
show
that.
up here every day.
I
Otherwise, why go through the nights? Why work the holidays? Why work the weekends? Why work, because you're a slave to the schedule once it comes out.
right.
Why sacrifice some time with your family when you're working a hockey game or a baseball game, or anyone who works in sports is going to do that in some capacity. So why do it? And that's why it's make a memory. And that sort of gives you some clarity as to what your purpose is, because we're a value proposition for the team, right?
Sure.
Like you're coming first and foremost to see a hockey game. But there's a value proposition in that ticket that you bring to a sporting event. So your expectation here is beyond, is the restroom going to be clean, and is the beer going to be cold, and is the hot dog going to be reasonably priced? You sort of, these days, you expect to be entertained. And
Oh, yeah.
what those, as you alluded to, what the weapons are. There's going to be a light show. There's going to be some projection, maybe. There's going to be some smoke effects when the team hits the ice. There's going to be this razzmatazz video that's going to knock your socks off to get the crowd all fired up. And then, of course, throughout the course of that 4 hour experience, there's going to be touch points where the whistle blows and your attention goes from your phone to the big screen. And if
Hmm.
the big screen does its job, it's going to engage you, it's going to entertain you, it's going to inspire you. Those are the three big keywords for my department here: entertain, engage, inspire. So that if you're a partner, if you're a sponsor for that feature, you're going to have that retention. If you're a fan, you're going to be entertained. And if you're a team, you're going to say, a team owner, a team CEO, you're going to say, you know what? It was worth investing in these editors, or that extra body, or that camera.
Oh,
And
yeah.
suddenly that's the value proposition, because my department, we don't generate revenue, like in the sense of having to report it. That's the partnerships department. That's the ticket sales department.
Sure.
Where we generate revenue is in that intangible, that if you're a fan and you come here and you have a great time, you're going to make the memory trigger of, I'll buy another ticket, or I'll support that team with some merchandise. So that's kind of my team's role, is like, we're glue. We're connectivity. We will work hard to make the fun feature or the fun moment in the game, or the moving emotional moment in the game,
Sure.
um, that tear-jerking moment. We do a few of
John, you bring the whole thing alive.
yeah, and
You know,
that's the idea.
watching any
We
sport.
hope we do.
Yeah, no, but you really do. I mean, watching any sport without the sport can be theatrical on its own. And that's like you said, that's why people are walking through the door. But when you add all those other elements, like win or lose, people can leave and go, that was incredible. Like that was an experience. That was a night out that I would do over and over and over again. It's amazing.
And there are so many and again it's a hockey game. Like I want to preface what I say with the
Sure,
fact that
sure.
we're not solving the world's problems here, but we take the logic that if you're electing to spend your discretionary income, if you're electing to spend your free time, whether it's with your friends or your family or even on your own, you are making the election in your head to come here and tune out life for 4 hours.
Right.
So we actually are, because of our weather, and I think the Islanders do this. I haven't seen it yet because I got to get to a game, but I think they do it in the Belmont area there where they activate outside the building when the weather works to their advantage. Well, here it works to our advantage for 8 months, all through the
Right.
season. So we have an area out front at our main entrance. We call it Thunder Alley, and it's where fans congregate and get together before the game. But we turned it into a show. We have live music, bands, DJs. We have a drum line that gets the crowd all fired up. There's a bar right there, and it's two bars actually. And then our blue crew, our promo squad, they'll go out there and they'll start throwing T-shirts from the balcony.
I love it.
Then the mascot comes out and he does his shtick. And I have a host out there who's cracking jokes on Montreal Canadiens fans, although good on them. They moved on to round three thinkers. We should have won that first round, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
I can't control that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
and
you
then
can't.
and then at a certain point, we're ready for doors opening. He brings out his big drum and we count it down, and we're going 10. No, it's an idea we stole from Disney. They do it at Epcot at 8:30 in the morning, the rope drop.
Yes.
Uh, and
I
then
worked there.
we have an LED screen out there. So as he's banging it, we're counting down 10, 9, 8. So it becomes like a table set from when you come into the building. So we use that to our advantage. But again, it comes back to the point I was making is that once you pull into our garage or you park and you pay your exorbitant rate to park, just same as in Tampa as you would
Sure.
anywhere else,
Yep.
hopefully you can tune out life and you can come onto our property and suddenly you're in a different world or a world where you can just put your troubles aside, follow your favorite team, cheer, have fun, you know, get a little lit. If it's a Friday night, you're out with your buddy. Whatever it takes, that's our role. Like we're facilitators for that experience, as you say. So, and it's something we don't take lightly, or at least I don't. Like that's a privilege to be able to shepherd 20,000 people into a building and show them a good time.
Yeah.
It's not without its pressures or its stress
Do
or
you do you meet like almost like a theater team? Do you meet like pre and post production with your team? Like, okay, like it's showtime kind of thing?
yeah, there's what we'll call, and we're literally starting it right now for next
Like,
season. But yes, you're correct. We have pre-production meetings and we're literally starting it right now for next season. Like we've had preliminary meetings today. We're tearing our staff down. We're building it back up. We're going to do the same thing with our show. We meet with our partnership department, our sales department. There's a theme night meeting tomorrow that I'm
okay,
going to miss because I'm going to be on a plane to come to you.
sure. Yes.
Um, and we're going to start laying out the season, and then we basically boil it down to the game. And then in that game, my crew will create close to 300 pieces of individual content for the signs outside, the screens in the bowl, the videos. Plot out what the we're gonna unveil another jersey next year, and they're going to be worn on a certain date. So what does that game look like? We'll do a full flip for themes like um, holiday games. It's a whole, the Islanders and the Rangers, they do this. All the teams do it, but they're in their own individual ways and special theme nights. And it just becomes very granular game by game. Each game is going to have its own
Right.
system of needs. If we have a women in sports night, suddenly the entire talent cast flips to all women. So you got to recruit.
John, let me ask you this. It just came to mind.
Sure.
Almost all the time, at least once a year, somebody passes away or a service member or something, and you have to, like, you have a game that night or the
Yeah.
next night, and you have to
Sure.
change production. Talk to me about that. Like, how hard is that? Or are you so seasoned? It's like, yeah, we can flip that in pretty quick.
Seasoned is the right word. We joke, the great ones hit the curveballs. We get a lot of curveballs because you're
Sure.
right. It's a lot. We are a reflection of our community. And I can use the 2 years ago, we had the hurricane.
Yeah.
Milton and Helene, give us a left, right within a
Yes.
week of each other or 2 weeks of each other. So we had our opening night coming up, and they had canceled opening night, but they had scheduled the game to take place, the next game in the homestand to take place. It was October 12th was opening night, and then the 15th was going to be game two. Well, game two suddenly became game one. Now the a lot of people in our community were affected big time. That we've dodged a lot of hurricanes, but those two walloped us pretty good
Yeah,
up and
they
down the
did.
Gulf Coast and even on the inner part of the bay. We even had a player's garage had 4 feet of water.
Wow.
Jake Gensel had just signed with the team and had moved all his stuff here, and then in pretty before too long, it was all underwater. Um,
Awful.
we had so many communities that were devastated by the hurricane. So to have a big opening night party, it's
Right, right. You got to change
wasn't
that
right.
whole
So
mood.
we had a big intro arch where the players were going to skate through and blast onto the ice as we introduced them, and it was going to have their likeness and action shots and all this sort of razzmatazz to celebrate
Sure.
opening night. Well, it didn't feel right. So it's actually our CEO who came up with the idea. I said, why don't we put the names of local towns up there? So suddenly that was like the key element of suddenly you're seeing all the different towns represented as we're coming out one by one, and we included all the towns. Then we created a means of community support to raise money for fund, hurricane relief, and that became Tampa Bay Strong. And then we created a logo. This is in the space of 3 days, and then
Wow.
we had flags made for our captain Victor Hedman to skate out with at the very end, and then we auctioned. The team would sign the flags, and then we auctioned off the flags for relief efforts.
Fundraiser. Yeah,
And
that's
then
great.
the owners of the team. We the 50-50, which normally goes for cancer research, always worthwhile. That night we amped it up and then seeded the pot so that it became this huge pot. And by the end of the day, almost after all of it was put together and carried over for the next couple of weeks, over $4 million was raised for hurricane
Fantastic.
relief through
Yeah,
largely through the blessings of our ownership group. But that's a good example of how you pivot when the time
sure.
calls for it. Vegas did it very, very well. Unfortunately, when they had that heinous, cowardly shooting that
Oh,
with
that
that
shooting.
two
Yeah,
nights.
that was awful.
This back in like 17 or 18,
Yeah.
and they flipped their whole script on a dime. And I often looked at that and I said, you know what? That's the model for how to adapt. So you don't just do it because you're seasoned experience, but you also see what other teams do, and you recognize where they hit the right tone for the moment.
John,
So
do you network with those guys from
yeah,
other
we have
franchises?
yes, we all of us lunatics who do what I do for a living, we have a network of we meet at the NHL business meetings, we meet at a few other conferences over the summer. We send each other notes. How'd you pull that off?
Right.
How did you do your pyro, or how did you do your drone shots? Like excuse me, in the playoffs recently, we debuted a drone camera, which the Rangers had done prior in Madison Square Garden. And we weren't able to go with the company they used, which was a just a full-blown company. It was just a little out of our price range. But because we figured out, or they relayed how they did it, we sort of went with a sort of a homemade approach and were able to pull it off. And the shots look great. So now I'm in a position where I can take this footage and try to get it sponsored and do it, in the right way. But we don't do that if we don't talk to these other teams. And then we have these phony baloney awards that we give each other, but we call them the
Ah,
scoreboard.
yeah.
But it's for the best practices, across teams, and not just hockey, but baseball, football, bat. The Mets
Yeah.
do a phenomenal job. You Mets fans out there on Long Island, you guys are spoiled because the Mets show is fabulous. They do a tremendous job. And I'm a Yankee guy.
Yeah.
Um,
No, me too. Don't worry about
right?
it.
But the Mets have, and the Yanks have raised their bar too. Like their crew now does phenomenal work. Like we watch and judge each other's work for
Sure.
those awards, um, and they truly do a tremendous job. So we also like are in awe. Like who do we want to try to be like? We look at what other teams do as well throughout this judging process. But we are
What
all in communication with each other
was
for
there
sure.
someone who inspired you when you were younger? Is there anybody who, if you said, I have to pay homage to?
You know what? Because when I was when I was with the Yankees, we were sort of building the plane while we were flying it, in the sense of creating a show or what a show could be. We didn't, it was kind of a petri dish. We didn't quite know. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world to put a bubble machine in Eddie Layton's booth when he used to play the organ at Yankee Stadium, and we put him on camera. Or we would put a tip jar in there because he played very, like, almost like lounge lizard music,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That's
we wanted to rock. So when I was there, we sort of made that transition into a musical based production. Prior to that, it was just Eddie and Bob Shepard between innings, doing their thing.
yeah.
So we sort of had to make a transition from the old to the new to accommodate this new screen out there, or these new screens. Um, so, uh, you sort of, we had to make it up as we go. Now it's a very tightly scripted, second by second execution with a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C already in the back of your head. If we were in the middle of a game and my show caller is out there and I'm in the office doing what I do now, I don't necessarily even call the games. I leave it to a trusted show caller, and then I'll put out the odd fire as need be. Um, but if the lights go out, I know exactly where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm running
Yeah.
to that light panel and I'm making sure my IT guy is involved. IT, what does he have to do with lights? Well, everything is networked now,
Sure.
and you got to make sure your network backbone is working. So it's a different mindset now,
No, and
unfortunately.
those
Fortunately or
those are the
unfortunately.
things that nobody would think of. What if the lights go out? Like that is a
Yeah.
huge, huge. I mean, me as a former athletic director, I'm thinking of everything but the game. Everything else, and like the product is the singer here for the national anthem. Do we
Yeah.
have do we have the sound system working properly? Do I have the
I'll
right
give you I'll,
security?
I'll give you a great example. I talked about that plaza we have out front.
Yes.
And I can usually gauge what kind of a crowd we're going to have as I walk out there. And I'm on intercom with my show caller, Stephen, who does a great job. But we passed the American flag during the national anthem. Big 20 by 40 flag. We pass. It's
Yeah.
kind of a hockey or arena thing, but whereas in baseball you wave it out in center field, in hockey you pass it around the stands. But there's times like I'll see a crowd if it was like a Tuesday against Phoenix, not necessarily a big rivalry, no big promotions going on. It's
Yeah.
just one of those games where there's not a lot of meat on the bone. And I'll say to Steven, I'll text him or I'll talk. I say, I don't know if we have enough people past the flag because
Yeah.
we're a notoriously late arriving crowd. Um,
Right.
and our game times don't work for our city infrastructure. If you've come to Tampa regularly over the years, you will see that our population has exploded, especially after COVID.
My
Everybody,
daughter's a UT graduate.
everybody came down from the Northeast. We don't
Yeah.
have the infrastructure. Traffic is not as it's 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 it's
Yeah.
up
It's
there.
tough. It's tough.
So like I looked at our playoff crowds, And I'm like, oh man, what? Everybody's going to be here late. They're going to miss our show, because it's all about us.
Right.
And that's where you sort of, oh boy, what do we do? And then you have to make the decision. Do you change your game night repertoire? Do you change what people are used to? Because come to a game, it's like comfort food. That's why, the Mets take the field to the same music. The Yankees take the field, they'll play YMCA in the fifth inning, right? Like
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
things that are comfort food to a sports fan, especially a season ticket holder. And you have to make those decisions on the fly as well. Like how do you not only start traditions, and we have a great one where a little kid skates around to Thunderstruck and then he pumps the crowd with his light up stick. And we got this sort of, LED big flags that we're waving.
With 9-year-old Paul Townsend.
But what if he suddenly gets stage fright? He's just a youth hockey player, Like there's
Right.
so many
Right.
variables that can bite you in the tuchus, so to speak, when you're doing a live production.
What's what would your advice be to somebody, wanting to get into this field, let's say graduating high school, just getting started?
Go to law school. Stay out of this. No, this field is morphing as it morphed from its infancy through when I've worked in it. I think what we're going to find is we're already employing it is AI elements and automated elements are finding their way into the game
I was going
presentation.
to ask you about that.
So when you go to a Mets game and you see that they're taking the picture you submit and making you look like a cowboy
Right.
or a crazy monster on Halloween or whatever it is, like we'll do that. Um, AI is becoming a tool to use in the presentation. I used to type my scripts at Yankee Stadium for, it was almost 2 hours to write a game script sometimes. Um, Now we have a software program where it can be done in 20 minutes. So like technology has helped to make the process a little more automated. It's taking a little bit of the personalized flair out of it, but it's at the
Sure.
expense of moving quickly and being able to include more stuff. Um, so I would say that being savvy in production as it is now, not necessarily when I went to school or came up
Sure.
through the ranks, video editing now is done and it's done here. Yeah, like,
Yeah, I know.
a lie. Like when we're short a camera guy, I'll take my phone out on the plaza or somewhere in the building, knock out a shot or two, bring it into my office, hack it together in 10 minutes, and then send it up to the control room and we're running it. That was unheard of back when.
Yeah.
I used to I used to edit videos at Yankee Stadium, and the worst thing you could hear back in those times was the videotape going around the drum head in the video machine, and then you hear crunch, 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 and you go, oh,
Oh God. Yeah.
literally. I remember cutting a video for Mel Allen. Mel Allen had passed. You talk about pressure. Mel Allen had passed, and I didn't find out we were supposed to be doing a video until that morning. Later, sorry, in the afternoon, we had FAN on in the Yankee control room. We usually did. We like to hear those
Yeah. Yeah.
lunatics. It was Mad Dog and the other guy, and Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear they make the announcement Mel Allen had passed, and then they're like, and they'll be doing a tribute at Yankee Stadium tonight. And I'm like, what? And I go to the PR guy and I'm like, are we doing something for Mel tonight? Like I thought maybe we'd wait a day and
Right.
we're doing it tonight. This is about noon, 1 o'clock. And back then you couldn't move nearly as fast. But I had some shortcuts that I had sort of pre-built because he was in failing health. And I said, let me just have this ready in case. So we're quickly assembling them. We're about an hour. Doors are already open. We're still editing. And uh, all of a sudden I'm in the middle of editing and I hear crunch, crunch, crunch.
Oh
And I'm
my.
going, oh, you got to be kidding me. Now, so, back then you had to take the tape out, find out, open up the cassette, because now your master edit,
Yeah.
cut out the crumpled part, you put it back together with a piece of scotch tape to hold the until you could dump it, make a quick recording of what you had just edited. And literally, I think we were 20 minutes from playing it. And we get it all finished and we play it out and it works perfectly. And there's the picture on the back of the Daily News the next day of the trip.
Oh, and nobody has any idea what you just went
No,
through.
that's why, like, I'm really 26.
Yeah.
You know, and there's story after story after story of how
Sure.
back then the render speeds were so slow that game 6, Yankee Stadium, we're in the 8th inning. We're up 3-2 on the Braves. I still don't have the world champion animation that I had commissioned from a 3D house to run up there. I had a standard graphic, but it didn't look as sexy as
Yeah.
the one I was
Not
waiting
what you
for.
wanted.
But I didn't want to put the whammy on us and pull the trigger on it of saying, go ahead, render it and send it to us until I knew, I had that feeling we were going to win. And so literally it's coming down the pike. It's the 8th inning. Is it in yet? No, still downloading. Is it? It's like almost like
Oh,
a
God.
bar, so but back then that was normal. We didn't think about it, right?
Yeah.
But now it's you can make a movie about this where it's like, the music is swelling and is he going to make it? And yeah, lo and behold, we made it. I think we got the animation in and with one out in the top of the ninth. And then I asked my guy, can you just preview it, play it? He goes, it's good. We're good. So you never know. Like
So
there's
the
just it's
moving,
it's
go
it's
ahead.
live theater, What can
Yeah.
go
But
wrong?
moving forward, your advice for the kids, right, is get savvy in AI because
Yeah, get
one of my
savvy.
sons is doing social media.
Yeah,
And he's doing okay. He has an engineering, he works for an engineering company, but he's making more money doing social media right now.
sure.
And I
Yeah,
said to him, that's all well and good. All the companies that are hiring you pretty soon are just going to make versions of you without paying you a dime.
yeah.
And they can make 1,000 of you.
It's funny though, the tools will always be the tools and the tools will always get better no matter
Right,
what. Like that's just human history, right? We had a rock, now we have a hammer.
right, right.
It's just the way life works. But I've always tried to separate the tools from the talent.
Hmm.
And here I'm blessed with a fleet of talented editors, and their leader Gabe, he's phenomenal. We've won a few of these statuettes because of their passion for the projects that they're working on and their ingenuity and their ability to tell a story. Um, that's kind of what's at the heart of what we do. And our motion graphics team creates some amazing stuff because they want to. They could easily
Yeah,
just
yeah.
send. Some teams do this, and then no harm, no foul. But they'll sweat the extra bullet to try to create that magical graphic that really hits the mark. Sometimes you have to move fast, and you settle for what you settle for. But by and large, if they don't have that passion, first and foremost,
Hmm.
you're in the wrong spot. And I'll say this, I'm looking over where my empty chair is here. Uh, I'll have a lot of kids come in here and they're here to interview for a variety of positions. And the first thing I ask them is, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? And I want to work in sports. Well, that's not good enough because for every
Right.
one of these kids who interviews, there's 200, 300, 400, 1,000 graduating every day
Sure.
in some sort of sports production or sport. It wasn't a thing when I went to school. Now it is. So the competition is just fierce. Schools like FSU,
Yeah.
Auburn does an amazing job with their game presentation. Georgia football is an experience. Even the Gators, what they do is tremendous. Um, Even the high schools, like you say, like
Yeah.
are there. Steinbrenner High School here, 15 minutes north of us, has a video screen in their football stadium.
Yeah. Even Belport.
Crazy.
When I
Yeah,
left Belport, the next AD put in like a jumbotron, and I didn't want it because I don't want replay. I don't want. Well, I have enough
right.
headaches with the audience arguing with the officials over good and bad calls. I'm like, please don't show it up there.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
well, that's part of our problem is, and they ran into it last night. a couple times that they couldn't show the replay until the refs made the call, like because I was watching the Buffalo Montreal game. Um, at the end, when these things first came on the scene back in the 80s, fan shots and replays were the two most powerful weapons
Right.
they leaned on because they didn't have kids like me building a show. Um, and that's still today, to this day, still the two most important things you can do is show the fans having a good time and show every replay you can. And that's
Now,
problematic because sometimes the coach doesn't want you to show it.
I was going to say, so I
And the
wanted to ask you
league
that.
doesn't want you to show it.
Yeah. Like, there's no comms for that. Like I always thought when I was at um let's say last year I went to the Arizona Cardinals playing the Raiders. It was the last preseason game. And I went, we have a friend of ours who plays for the Raiders.
Mhm.
And let's say there was a call or a no call against Arizona, and they're complaining about it. Da, da, da. They're not going to show it on the jumbotron because they don't
No,
want, right?
no.
But
Yep.
if they want it up there, will they tell you? Is there
No, they would leave it to our devices.
okay?
We know where we can fudge the rules for home ice advantage a little
Gotcha,
bit.
gotcha.
And we know when to, like, you know what, we probably shouldn't show that because if
Yeah, right.
but they're seeing the same thing on the benches now that we would show. Back where it caused problems is where managers and coaches could not see the replay you're showing. But now they see it almost faster than we can put it up there. So that actually helps. But there was a time where you couldn't. In fact, you have to be smart. And this goes back to what we're doing. We're making content for a game. We're not making content for the sake of making content or here's the game, here we are. This has to be the same thing. And one time I was at the Devil Rays. After I was 10 years with the Yankees, I went 10 years with the Rays. And before
Okay.
I came to hockey, which is now my 18th season here. Now, I'd been in baseball close to 20 years at that point. And one of our players, who was it, Carl Crawford,
Okay.
he stole home. And we thought we'd never seen it, at least in Rays history. Nobody's stealing home. This guy, he was so fast when he played. And we're so excited. We show that replay. Well, he stole home on a pitch that was debatable. Like
Oh, really?
in baseball, you were not supposed to show called calls. You could show swinging strikes, but not called
Right.
strikes or
Right.
balls. Well, we didn't think about that. We just showed him stealing home, but the pitch could have been a ball, could have been a strike three, and then
Right.
and it wasn't. And we were playing the Mariners, so Carl Crawford steals home. The pitch should have been a strike three, and
Call ball.
Lou Piniella, who was managing the
Mhm.
Mariners at the time, is going crazy in the dugout. Next pitch, a Rays player hits the home run. So
Oh,
it could have been a strikeout out of the inning. Suddenly, it cost him two runs.
right.
So we play the replay of him stealing home, and Piniella goes. It just sparks him going nuts. It was a full blown thing. It's on Sports Center the next day, and just he's dusting home plate. He's the umpire. He's throwing the bag around. It was a typical Piniella explosion. And then I get the call. The umpire wants to see you in the locker room after the game. I go,
Really?
oh boy. My boss at the Rays goes, the umps want to see you after the game. And I'm like, I got this covered. Don't worry about it. He's like, what? So back in my Yankee days, when Mr. Steinbrenner was upset with somebody, I would say, we fired him on the spot. Don't worry about it. So, flash forward, I'm with the Rays and I go into the umpire locker room and they say, before you even say a word, we fired the guy on the spot. Totally disarmed the umpire, got out of a sticky situation, and
Oh
the
my
guy, the
goodness.
guy was upstairs sweating bullets. It wasn't his fault. We were all just
No,
caught up in the excitement. And I said, "Don't worry, you're good. See you tomorrow night." But the
that's
little
classic.
tactics you use over time that
Sure.
crazy,
What do you
crazy.
do? What do you do when you're not in season? What do you do to relax? What do you do to breathe a little bit and enjoy your life?
That's the challenge, right? Because you're on 24/7, every day. You never really turn it off because you're driving in the car, you'll hear some music, or you'll text somebody, say we should do that. Or now that other teams are in the playoffs and we're not, we're watching what they're doing. So you don't ever really turn it off. But in recent times, especially as my kids grew older, my wife and I were able to take some nice week-long vacations. We did Alaska last summer, and the year
Oh,
prior we finally went to Italy, which was magical. So, and you get older, you start to realize time is finite, and you start to take advantage of that time, which is always cool. But you also forget you have to, because as the season ends, it feels like you hit a brick wall, and then you don't know what to do with yourself for 2 weeks. So you kind of get lost in the haze and the fuzz of, like, last week was Mother's Day,
yeah.
and because you're in the haste of getting the postseason ready, even though you get a quick exit, you forget about all these other things that are going on because you're just blinders on focused, and then suddenly you hit that wall. You're not playing anymore, and you're like, now what do I do? So I let's just say I owe my wife a good Mother's Day present. Uh, and that's the other thing you bring up. What do you do? Like, there are people in your family who have to deal with. It's almost like working in the military to an extent, because you're working the nights, the weekends, the schedule.
Sure.
Your family plays in big time. They have to buy in too a little bit. And my wife Carol, she's a trooper. She puts up with all of this silliness, or has, up to now.
That's since
To
NYU, right?
allow me to do this for this long is pretty remarkable. So
Is there any, do you
kudos
fish
to
or
the
golf?
missus. What's up?
Any fishing or golfing or any
You know,
hobby?
I've golfed twice, and my nickname is Claymore because I tear up the
Yeah.
I tore up the course. So no, I haven't. You would think I would go fishing and golfing, round the clock. No, I really just work around the house, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to turn thinking off, maybe too much. A
Hmm.
lot of vegetation in the living room for sure.
There you
Uh,
go.
but it's not like we go silent. We're not like bears. We don't hibernate. Like, literally this week we had to create 4 videos for an NHL conference coming up. We did 2 videos for a sponsor, USAA, 2 military-based videos. We turned a piece for a local, Tampa Bay Sports Commission throws a big sporting event, so we're doing a signature video for that on one of our female sled hockey players, who's an inspiration. She's an amazing person. And then we just did another video for the Tampa Bay Sports Hall of Fame. They're going to induct John Tortorella, whether he advances or
Oh,
not here.
yeah,
Uh,
that's all right. That's
so,
awesome. And
like, we're
then
we're staying busy, and
what documentary were you meeting about today? You said you were, is that
yeah, we're going to hopefully head down a path that will allow us to produce a piece on Phil Esposito, who
that's
was our
awesome.
founder. Yeah, Espo started this team, and it's time he gets his due. So we're working
Sure.
on getting that done. And before you know it, it's September. We have training camp. We have the development camp in July. We do a live stream show for that. That gets aired on our local broadcast. We will do, the draft is coming up. Not that we have a lot of high draft picks. We've traded
Right.
away a lot of them to stay competitive, but
Sure.
we'll still do draft coverage. We're setting a shooter up to that, and then just brainstorming. We'll start building our show up again. So yeah, we slow down, but we don't turn it off, if that makes sense.
What'd you think of Jamie and the crew when Jamie
Oh,
came down?
I got the crowd didn't see it coming, first of all. So nobody knew that was going to happen. I kept it under wraps. And it was unfortunate because my director was ill that night, or yeah, he was ill. So I had to jump in and sit in the control room. I was planning to walk the building with him and take some photos and video. They were tremendous. The If you've seen the photos,
I
the
have.
They had a
I
great time, and then we put them on camera with our host. We do an intermission show, and they were on with him and mugging it up.
Because right now I got something to take care of. These guys. Buckle up! Wrestle up! Let's go! Go! Second
And I hope they had a good time. Like when he told me that, I said, "This is a home run. We got to do this," especially
yeah.
because it's such an iconic hockey thing that they're that they were aping that night is just awesome.
They've done it in so many places. Like they go around the country doing it.
I know he told me, and he was showing me
It
photos. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. There's a joie de vivre at work with that gentleman, and good on
yeah,
him. Good on him.
yeah.
He was having a great time too. So hopefully, when I kind of create a little itinerary for him to do. I think we put him on the ice for the intermission as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw pictures
it
of them on the ice. That's
was a
fantastic.
lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how you can each game has its own individual story or moment that you're going to pull from it, and then over 40 years time you realize you've got this treasure trove of good times and smiles really that you're able to use this platform to bring out. And that's like, like I said, like when we started, like that takes me right back to the stage at West Islip High School. That's where this sort of whole thing kind of started, is like, wow, we can make, you're never going to make a living as a second baseman. I found that out in the 10th grade, because that was the original
Yeah.
plan. Hey, we can be a ball player. Well, that went south real quick
Yeah.
the second I stopped growing. But then you realize that there are other avenues, and then to blend sports with a passion for performing or putting on a show is just been a blessing. Like really, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
lucky, just lucky to be at the right place at the right time when the Yankees
Well,
needed that help.
congratulations on an amazing career
I
and
appreciate it.
making Long Island proud. And the Hall of Fame, I think it's important that it's represented by everybody who had a passion for sports and it played out to serve people in whatever way, whether it was you were a great athlete, whether you put the show together, whether you became a manager, whether you're an agent, all those things. For me, as an athletic director, there's plenty of athletic directors that are in the Hall of Fame, and it's just their passion for sports and making a difference for kids, you know?
Yeah,
And you putting that show on, I mean, I hope people realize, because I have that passion for that, that
right.
what you do, it inspires people and changes lives every night.
You know what?
Exciting.
That's the takeaway, is that, and it's not just the show, it's the people who put it together. Yeah, I'm the tip of the spear, but this is a full team effort. And what's really cool is that over time, I've been blessed to have interns and kids who came along for the ride, and now they're doing their own thing as the head of their department. Like the girl who calls the show at the Philadelphia Flyers. She was a volunteer with me for 2 years. Then she was a part timer. Now she's the director of the Flyers show. The young man who calls the show for the Texas Rangers, he's their VP of game entertainment. Just so many other lives that you're able to touch, and if you're lucky enough and they see a light like I did, they're following their path at other teams, and sort of take what you teach them with you. We had a girl here, her name was Felicia. She was with me for 9 years, came to me as a student from USF, University of South Florida,
Yeah, yeah.
and now she's calling the show for the Miami Marlins. And she
Oh,
made a
wow.
she made a she was kind of a bit of an heir to the throne here in waiting, and now she's calling her own show. And I told her, take what you've learned and put it to work. And that's
That's
that's really that's a really cool benefit of this gig, is other people who've worked with you and advanced to their own stature, frankly, in the industry, which is awesome,
yeah,
truly awesome. But it all comes back to that day one epiphany. So you
yeah.
never know. You never know how life is gonna take you in these bizarre ways.
No, no. Well, my daughter ended up in the industry. She did a Gucci show in Manhattan, maybe 4 days ago for Bureau of Attack, which they do event planning in the fashion industry.
Oh, cool.
And she literally got that gig through Before that, she worked for David Mon, who was a big event planner privately. Um, he did Trump's inauguration, or the original, the
Oh,
first
wow.
inauguration, did the Eagles Super Bowl celebration and parade and all that.
Right.
And just a friend of mine got her an internship with David Mon, and he ended up keeping her on. And then after COVID, she ended up with Bureau of Attack, and now she's doing the fashion shows.
That's
And
awesome.
she had looked at you guys down there when she was down in Tampa, but she ended up coming home.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny because I have a kid who was at UT. Her name's Michaela Quinn. She went for music teaching, and I think she'd want to stay here, but she wants to be a teacher up in New York. Um,
Oh, okay.
Music teacher up in New York, but she was just a kid who worked in our world, and I think saw what it was and had a little taste of it. Another kid, Jillian Meyer, she's interned here, not interned, but been a stage manager here for us for 2 years from UT, and she's going back to Long Island, back home to Long Island. I think she's already there, but it's whenever a kid comes to me from UT and they say I'm from Long Island, I got a soft spot.
Yeah,
I
of
got
course, of
a
course.
soft spot.
Yeah.
We're going to keep the mafia together. So I've had a number of Long Islanders come through our doors here for sure, which is great.
Yeah, they're flooding UT now. I mean, just flooding it.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Everybody wants to go there.
You're not kidding. My brother teaches over at West Islip High, and he teaches a sports marketing class. And
Okay.
I've spoken at his class a couple times when I've come home for the holidays and what have you. And it's really interesting. And it goes back to that, do you get this? Or do you get this? Do you get
Right.
that
Yeah.
1 out of 20 who's like, I want to do this? And there's another gal, Maddie. She was one of his students. She interned for me, didn't intern, but stage manager, entry level position. Now she's working for the soccer team up there. So yeah, it's you look back and you say, all right, you've done okay for yourself, but then you've touched all these other lives
That's the big
in
thing.
a positive way, and
Yeah, the difference you made for
I
other
think
people, man.
that's the bigger takeaway than any little trinkets of hardware or any industry recognition is the fact that you've helped someone down the road. That's what human beings are supposed to do, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you're done doing it, you can sit back and fold your arms and say, I got
Yeah,
someone there, someone over there, someone over there, and and they're loving it. And I mean, help make their career. That's awesome.
yeah. And the big question is, when do you sit back? Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's still so much fun that it's hard to sit. People always ask, like, when you gonna hang them up? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
yeah.
seven more years. Maybe
But
never.
when my wife tells me I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes for all of us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's life. So
All right, John. Well, thanks for coming on. And
appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. And my mom's looking forward to it. Like this is
Oh,
big.
awesome.
She lives
Yeah.
out in Ridge. He's in Ridge. My brother's in Ridge. This is, for my mom, that's big time. She can go to the Sons of Italy now and
There you go. Chris Vaccaro might be running the Sons of Italy.
hey, good on him.
He's
Good on him.
he's Chris, who runs the Hall of Fame. He runs the Italian American Baseball League.
Oh, really? Oh,
Uh,
yeah. He told me about that. Yeah, he texted me, told me about that.
when he asked me to do these podcasts, um, I got to know him a little bit, and then Jamie said, "Why don't you interview Chris? He'd be a great guest."
Sure.
He is so passionate about. If you're Italian and you like baseball, you're in.
You're in.
100%, or if you're from Sachem.
Okay.
That's
Starts
yeah.
with DiMaggio and ends with Vaccaro.
That's the one. All right, John. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.
All right, boss. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it, bud.
You got it.
Take care.